Welcome back to the poker vlog. This is episode number 261. For this one, we're playing 5-10 at the Wynn in Las Vegas. There's a main event champion in the game, and we get into some massive pots. You guys are gonna love it. But before we get started, two announcements. The first one is that the Fall Mayhem series at the Lodge in Austin, Texas is coming up. It's an awesome time to check out the Lodge if you haven't been yet. We're doing a meetup game September 4th to kick things off. It's a 1-2 low stakes game, so if you haven't been out there yet and you're looking for a good reason to make the trip, now is the time. And then also, I'm going to be playing on WPT Global quite a bit. I'm actually playing right now. I'm on a break for the Sunday tournament, and if you're in a country where you can play on WPT Global, use the bonus code BRAD. That'll get you a deposit match up to $1,200 that you should absolutely take advantage of. And then there are some other perks as well. I have more information in the description box for that too. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. A lot of my friends are at Encore Beach Club celebrating Adam Walton's amazing run and third place finish in the WSOP main event for a $4 million payout. It took me a very long time to get ready, so I'm running just a little late to the party. I head to the strip while the sun is coming up. I'm going my absolute fastest, but unfortunately, the festivities don't last until 6 in the morning, which is about what time I arrive. I guess the only thing left to do here is play 5-10. We buy in for $3,000, that's the max. It's a short-handed game at the moment, but sitting 2 doors down from us in the 9 seat is 1996 main event champion and complete legend, Huck Seed, who's apparently back from a several-year hiatus from poker. It's awesome to be playing with him. About 15 minutes in, we're dealt 9-5 suited in the big blind. The cutoff wants trouble. He raises to 30. The button calls. We're getting a discount with a hand that can make a flush and a straight using both cards. I call for 20 more. We're going 3 ways to the flop out of position. The flop comes 8-7-6 with 2 clubs. Some of you guys are thinking, I'm not so sure 9-5 will make it straight when I mentioned that possibility earlier, but sure enough it does. We've got the second nuts and 2 opponents. I check to induce a bet from either the pre-flop raiser or the button. They both check behind me, perhaps they've got air. The turn is the queen of clubs. We certainly don't want a 4th club to come out, and we can't rely on the opponents to bet like we'd like them to. That's like relying on Jim Kelly. To lose the AFC Championship game, and 80% of the time, he's just not going to do that. You probably all thought I was going a different way with that Jim Kelly reference, but he's gone through enough and doesn't need to catch strays in poker vlogs. I've got to get as much money into this pot as I can right now. I bet 80. It's a large sizing. I need to make opponents pay if they want to stick around. I'm not all that worried about 3 clubs on board because either opponent might have bet a flush draw on the flop. I'm not saying there's no way that we're beat, but I've slightly discounted that possibility after a check through on the previous street. The cutoff folds. The button may have a high club or he may have a queen. He calls. It's down to heads up. The river is the ace of hearts. Now I'm hoping that the button had the ace-high flush draw on the turn that has improved to top pair. Since it's hard to get second pair to call another bet no matter what, I target top pair better hands that we're beating, and I go with another large sizing of 300. It's apparently too high of a price, like when your friends told you to buy GameStop at 500 a share. The button folds quickly. He may have had a hand like Jack 10 or King 10 offsuit with the club and bricked his draws. He likes to play almost everything pre-flop. We'll definitely be battling with him again. Not long after, we're dealt ace-9 of hearts onto the gun. I raise to 30. The small blind calls. He's the primary opponent from the last hand. We're heads up in position. The flop comes queen 9-6 with 2 hearts. We've got middle pair and a possibility of making a flush, which is not only my goal when I go to work, it's also Mario and Luigi's goal when they go to work. Small blind checks. We could be best and we've got plenty of potential to improve. I bet 30 again. I wouldn't mind a call at all. The small blind matches the bet. The turn is the 5 of spades. The small blind checks. I'm on the fence between betting or checking to realize our equity. I go the aggressive route and bet 80. That won't be the price for long. We immediately get punished as the small blind puts in the check raise to 300. This is more of a light punishment, like when my mom would discipline me as a little kid and I'd laugh because she didn't want to hurt me. Not like when my dad would get involved as a 6'6", 270-pound black belt. I typically was not laughing after his punishments. I'm not completely buying the small blind story that he has a straight, set, or 2-pair, especially because we have removal to sets and 2-pair hands. I bet 80, knowing that I was strong enough to withstand a check raise. We should have plenty of outs if we happen to be behind. I call for 220 more. The river is the 5 of hearts. It's great to see it because we've got 2-pair, a flush. It's a little worrisome that the board is paired, but less so when the small blind checks to us. Holding a 9 in this instance actually makes me feel quite a bit better about betting for value because there are fewer full house combos that we'll be up against. I already overbet the river against the same opponent in the first hand we went over. With that in mind, I go for it again, betting 800. It's difficult to make straights and flushes, especially twice within the first half hour of sitting down. I'm hoping the small blind will find it difficult to believe that we're making monsters against him over and over, but we are. The opponent folds once more. It didn't seem like he was that strong. We win a decent pot and are up a few hundred to begin the day. Not a bad start for us. Next we pick up pocket kings under the gun. I raised to 30. The same opponent from the last two hands wants to brawl. He calls in the small blind. We're heads up in position. The flop comes 7-6-6 with 2 hearts. We've got an overpair along with a backdoor flush draw. Small blind checks. It's going to be $40 if he wants to proceed. Small blind makes the call. Maybe he's on a draw of some sort, or maybe he's got a 7. The turn is the ace of spades. Not only could the small blind be holding the ace of hearts, he'd also have a hand like ace 7 suited or ace 6 suited. We can't rule out trip sixes or flop full house either. Small blind checks. We don't want this pot to get too big relative to the strength of our hand, which has now been downgraded. I check back for pot control. The river is the 10 of clubs. It's another card that isn't great because 9-8 improves to 5 in a row. The situation gets worse because the small blind bets 100. While I'm at the poker table, I occasionally like to play a game called I Know I'm Beat, but I'd like to see how. It's not a very fun game, and it'll cost me $100 this round if I'd like to play it right now. I can't help myself. I call, expecting to watch the chips in the pot head towards a small blind. That won't be the case though. The opponent has 5-3 of diamonds. He made a very loose call pre-flop. I'm realizing more and more that's normal for him. He called on the flop with a gut shot straight draw and a backdoor flush draw, but missed and turned his hand into a bluff on the river. Bluffs were all we could beat. It works out that we win another pot. In this one, we look down at ace-king suited in the big blind. The cutoff raises to 30. He's got one of the bigger stacks of the table and is a European pro. The button calls, no surprise. We played with him in every hand we've gone over so far. With a premium, we'll be 3-betting. I re-raised to 160, expecting to win it without a fight pretty often. Instead, both opponents call. We're going 3 ways to the flop out of position. This could be uncomfortable. The dealer puts out a 6-3 deuce rainbow. Not only do we not connect, like Dre from the most recent season of Too Hot to Handle, our opponents could have connected big time, like Alex and Elise from the most recent season of Too Hot to Handle. I give up and check. Surprisingly, both players check back. It's pretty likely that they're both somewhat weak. Maybe they just have high card hands that we're beating, or middling pocket pairs at best. The turn is the 10 of spades, giving us the flush draw. Since we might have the best hand and definitely have plenty of potential, I take a $320 stab. It might look a little fishy after checking the flop, but I'll occasionally check big overpairs for pot control on the flop when I'm playing out of position in a 3-bet pot against multiple opponents. The cutoff doesn't want to let go yet. He calls. He's the opponent that I was most worried about getting through, but that changes quickly as the button raises to 1,000. Remember, this is the guy who I've beaten every hand we've gone over so far. He check raised me on the turn when we had ace-9, then check folded river when the board paired and we made the flush. In the last hand, we caught him bluffing. He may have it out for us, and I just don't see how he could have better than a pair of 10s the way that this has been played. I doubt he would have checked back the flop with 2 pair or better, or even pocket 10s. Now on the turn, he's representing a monster. He doesn't seem like a very experienced player, so he could be raising with a 10 thinking it's good, and to be fair, he probably is, but that kind of hand won't be super comfortable facing a 3-bet jam from us. The problem is that the button only has 1,500 on top of his raise, so I'm not sure that we'd be able to get him to fold for that amount. He may just side call off. In addition, the cutoff still has cards. I'm guessing he has 1 pair of some sort or a draw. He'll be forced to fold if he sees a re-raise shove. The play I'm considering making is extremely risky, but I think it'll work often enough, and I have a backup plan in drilling the nuts if we're not able to win this pot immediately.
Come on. All in? Is it all in? All in here. All in.
What's done is done. Now we wait for the outcome of a dangerous maneuver. The cutoff folds. He had me covered. Our fate depends on what the button decides to do. He doesn't snap call. That's a huge relief because we may have up to 15 outs, and there's still a chance we've got the best hand at the moment if the button has a worse spade draw. Ultimately, the button folds. We get a huge semi-bluff jam through. The button says something to indicate that he had about the best hand I thought he'd have.
You got a 10 meet?
No 10 meet.
Nice.
Not only do we get top pair to fold in order to steal the pot, the dealer shows us what the river would have been. We would have bricked our flush draw, and the other player who folded would have improved with his pocket fives.
Oh, and I rivered a straight.
River the four?
Don't show me the card. Oh my god.
We're up over 2,000 when I take a break to make a YouTube short for this particular hand that I put out as a sneak peek for this vlog. I'll probably be doing more of this type of thing going forward, so you can get a glimpse of how sessions are going for me before the full-length vlogs are up. Here we've got pocket nines in the big blind. It's a strong hand in a situation in which I'll regularly be playing much weaker holdings. The cutoff puts in a big raise to 50. Apparently, the guy who we've been battling with non-stop has seen a lot of people win with a specific hand the past few hours and warns the cutoff that he has it.
I got queen four. All right. You've been like easy all night.
What's interesting about the queen four comment is usually when people talk at the table about what they're holding, they tend to be telling the truth. I've got queen four beat, but I'm not sure I necessarily have the cutoff beat. I call for 40 more. We're going 3 ways to the flop out of position. It comes 7-4 deuce with 2 diamonds. Not bad for us. We've got an overpair. I check. Normally, when someone raises to a large amount pre-flop like the cutoff did, they'll have a hand that they know they should be raising but feel it's vulnerable, like pocket jiggities or ace king. I expect the cutoff to bet again with the jigs, while he may check with ace king, especially now that queen four has made a pair. The cutoff checks. I like seeing that. The button is going to rep his possible middle pair. He bets 100. If he has what he says he has, I don't want to scare him off with the raise. I call. The cutoff doesn't have anything. He folds. It's down to heads up. The turn is the jack of clubs. We should still be best. I check. The button isn't worried that he's beat. I suppose he puts me on a draw because he bets 100 again. There's still no reason to get wild. I call. The river is another 4. I check immediately and I'm not too happy.
Queen four is good now.
You hit 300.
Shit, I really believe you that you have queen four. That's the problem.
What's going through your mind? Is this guy bullshit? That means you really have a queen four.
Exactly.
This whole conversation is good to pay attention to. I'm always happy when people are willing to talk to me while I'm making a decision because they're giving me information I can work with. Sometimes I misinterpret that information and make a wrong decision that I may or may not have made otherwise, but at least a slight majority of the time, I'm able to make a better decision with that information. In this case, I take the comment that the opponent said pre-flop about having the queen four, which I assumed was true, and coupled it with his betting, which is mostly consistent with the story. Now I'm listening to him very comfortably have a conversation after betting fairly large on the river. The fact that he seems so at ease really steers me away from calling. I don't want him to know that how he's talking to me is a tell, so I wait a few extra seconds before making my decision.
All right, man. All right, I believe you. I believe you. My fault.
Because you believe me, I'm gonna show you.
Wow.
In this one, we've got pocket deuces in the big blind. A second European pro is in the game. He raises to 30. There's almost nothing I like more than making big hands against visitors from across the pond, just so they have a little something extra to remember their trip by. We'll be doing everything we can to help this opponent make a lasting memory. I call for 20 more. We're heads up, out of position. The flop comes 8-5 deuce with 2 diamonds. We've got bottom set and an aggressive opponent. I check, with plans going for the check raise. We're eagerly waiting for a bet. The cutoff provides us with $80. It's more than the size of the pot. The opponent may be drawing very slim or bluffing. We don't want to frighten him off. We could check raise, but since he went with such a massive sizing, we're going to want to raise a lot less frequently than we would if he bet 1/3 pot. I call to disguise the strength of our hand. Then I ask the dealer if he's willing to pair the board. He says that's no problem and puts out the 5 of spades on the turn. It's one of the best cards that we could have gotten. I check with our 3 ducks going the speed limit in a boat. The cutoff is the gift that keeps giving. He goes with another overbet at 280. We've got almost nothing to worry about other than another 5 counterfeiting our full house, or perhaps an overcard if the opponent has a high pair. It's hard to proceed without looking like I'm harboring a monster, but I call again to keep the opponent's bluffs and semi-bluffs in. The pot is getting big. The river is the 4 of diamonds completing the flush draw. Some unlikely straights get there as well. We're close to the very top of our range. The goal now is to extract as much money as possible. If I check, the cutoff may give up betting with his bluffs and overpairs. Now that there are 5 low cards on the board, I've called 2 overbets and diamonds have gotten there. I get very tricky and put out a tiny bet of 150. It has the appearance of a blocker bet, as if I'm trying to get to showdown as cheaply as possible with a hand like ace-8 or a weak flush that I'm unsure about, but in reality, I'm trying to induce a bluff raise from the bottom of my opponent's range, or a raise for value from the cutoff if he has the ace-high flush. Note, I wouldn't do this if I thought the opponent wasn't a good thinking player, but a lot of people who play for a living hate giving up when they're getting such a good price to call on the river, and if they see what they perceive to be weakness, they'll pounce on it, like my cat Marvin when I drop a piece of turkey. The opponent takes the bait and makes an enormous raise to 2100. I was not expecting him to make it 14 times the size of my bet. Maybe he has eights full or another hand that beats us. It's unlucky if that's the case. We got what we wanted to, so I'm sticking to the plan. I snap call for 1950 more. I'm shocked to see that the cutoff has pocket nines that he turned into a bluff. He actually had the perfect hand to call a bet at 150 with, but I'm guessing he thought he'd win an extremely high percentage of the time with a raise to get me to fold everything that I might have put a blocker bet out there with, including hands that he beats and some hands that he doesn't beat.
Oh, I thought I had twos, not you.
Nice. We win about a $5,000 pot. The play works out just as I drew it up. Again, I wouldn't have attempted that move on the river if I didn't think the opponent was good enough to understand what I wanted it to look like I was trying to accomplish, if I didn't think that the opponent had the heart to make a big bluff attempt. Our stack climbs to over 7,000, we're up more than 4,000 on the session, and the opponent has a new memory, so everyone kind of walks away with something. Later we've got King 10 offsuit in the small blind. A good young gun with the largest stack at the table raises to 30. I've just come back from a quick break and bought the button. I make the call for only 20 more. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes King Jack Deuce with 2 hearts. We've got top pair and a backdoor straight draw. I check. The button will have a wide range when he opens from late position. He may or may not have us beat. He only bets 20. There's no need to do anything crazy. I call. I'd like to keep this pot relatively small. The turn is the 3 of diamonds, putting a second flush draw out there. I check with hopes of seeing a check back. The button cranks up the heat with a $200 bet. It's about twice the size of the pot. I get the sense that he's trying to push me around, knowing that I won't have a lot of strong hands, that he will, like pocket kings, jacks, aces, or ace king, after I only called his preflop raise. Sometimes I'll even 3-bet king jack suited preflop, so I won't have 2 pair or better very often. King 10 is one of the best hands that I'll have, plus I know this player is capable of bluffing. I call knowing that there will be very few river cards that I'll want to see. The dealer puts out the ace of hearts. That's one of the worst ones because the flush gets there, ace high diamonds now has his beat, and a few straights get there as well. I check. The button makes a quick decision to check back. He shows that he was bluffing with ace-8 offsuit and accidentally hit the 3-outer at the end to snatch the victory right out of our hands. It's a frustrating run out. Still, it's not all that large of a loss. We pick up king jack offsuit in the cutoff. The under the gun player limps in for 10. If you see anyone open limping in a cash game, you can be certain that they don't play for a living. It's rare that you even see non-pros limp when they're first in the pot in a 5-10 game. I raise to 40 to isolate the opponent. He calls for 30 more. We're heads up in position. The flop comes queen queen 10 with 2 hearts. We've got an open-ended straight draw and 1 over. The opponent checks. I expect a lot of players to limp call pre-flop raises with small pocket pairs and suited connector type of hands that won't hit this flop very well. I bet 30 to get folds out of some of the slightly better hands and some of the other ones that have equity. Under the gun surprisingly calls, could have a draw of some sort, or maybe he has trips or better. The turn is the jack of hearts. We make a pair, but the flush draw gets there, as well as some straight combos. The opponent checks. Now that we have some value, the goal is to get to showdown for the lowest price possible. I check back, and as I do so, the opponent makes a $200 bet in the dark. What's even more interesting is that the river is the ace of spades giving us the straight. While the straight is generally strong, on this board it's not all that amazing. We're still losing to quads, full houses, and flushes. When an opponent makes a big bet before the river comes out like the under the gun player did, it's usually done with a made hand, and it's a big tell that the opponent isn't concerned about almost any river that comes out. Under the gun probably had something close to the nuts on the turn, like a full house or ace-high flush. And once he sees me check back, he knows that he'll be best on the river either all the time or a very high percentage of the time. At best, I'll be chopping. We don't want to get in the habit of calling large river bets just to chop. I reluctantly fold. The opponent is a nice guy. Without me asking, he shows for you guys that he turned the straight with ace-king. He had the king of hearts for the straight flush draw as well. He clearly felt like he had the effective nuts and that there weren't going to be many rivers that he'd be upset about. In this one, we're dealt ace-jack offsuit in the cutoff. A new player at the table limps in for 10. This is a different opponent than in the last hand when we saw an open limp there. It's extremely rare to see two players at a 5-10 table doing this. We've got a nice hand. I raised a 40 to isolate the opponent. There won't be any isolation here. The big blind calls, the middle position limper calls as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop in position. The dealer puts out king jack 4 with 2 hearts and a diamond. We've got middle pair, 1 over and a backdoor straight draw on a board that will generally be better for me as the pre-flop aggressor. Checks to us. I like keeping control of the pot, and we're likely best. I bet 40. This amount is enough to get the big blind to fold. The middle position player unexpectedly min raises to 80. I'm not sure what to make of this. He should never have a set of kings or jacks. Maybe he has a set of 4s, but he'd probably raise to a larger amount with a hand that strong and so many draws present. It's possible that he has a 1-pair hand and wants to see where he's at. We're getting a good price. I call for 40 more to see what happens on future streets. The turn is the deuce of hearts. The flush draw gets there, and it perhaps is worrying to the opponent. He checks. I'd like to get to showdown. I check back. The river is the 7 of diamonds. It's a blank. The middle position player bets 120 though. This is just an odd hand. It's similar to the king's hand earlier when I felt like I was beat, but then called, and I won in an unexpected way. I'm confused and feel like I'm beat here, but maybe this player is just doing something weird with a missed straight draw again. I call. The opponent has the best hand I thought he'd have on the flop, which is a set of 4s. He gets me good. After winning a lot of big pots early on, we've lost several small to medium pots in a row. I'm getting tired. It's time to rack up what's still a sizable win. We got him today, played for 4.5 hours. I won $3,280. I was up a little over 4K at the high point. Pretty much everything worked out in the beginning of the day. Got that massive bluff through with the ace king of spades. So that worked out, and then got him with a blocker bet for deception to induce a bluff from a hand that really didn't need to bluff. So that was awesome to win an extra 2,100. Because if I had checked, he definitely would have checked back 9s. He even told me that. So altogether, great day, and it's only about 11 a.m. now. So got the rest of the day to work on videos or relax or do whatever. That's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons. It helps out the channel a ton. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comments section. I'm happy to get back to you. And don't forget to come out to the lodge in Austin, Texas. If you're available, we've got that meetup game September 4th to kick off the Fall Mayhem series. And then be sure to sign up to WPT Global. There's a lot of cool stuff going on that site, including big satellites to the WPT World Championship in December, and the cash games are as good as it gets. So use that bonus code Brad to get up to a $1,200 deposit match. I'm at my mom's house right now, hanging out with the family in Northern California. Nice to have a little break after the WSOP and everything. But hope you're all doing well. Hope you're staying safe. Good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time.